Well, hello. You're probably expecting someone else here, weren't you? Well, today, fortunately or unfortunately, looks like the inmates are running the asylum here today.
Yeah.
We're here at the Rethink Tank Live podcast. I'm going to be your host, your guide through all things topical, political, and somewhat entertaining. David Cunningham here. You're probably thinking, like, where the hell is Alex? Fortunately, he's off. He's off in a plane somewhere going to Switzerland, probably checking up on his Swiss bank accounts, hoarding all that money overseas. But with me today, we have my good friend, Doug. How are we doing today?
I am great. Happy to be here. It's weird not having Alex here. I've done the show with Alex when you're not here. This first time will be you and I, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, doing a little mix-up here. Yeah, we also got Ricky here in the back room. Hey, Ricky.
What's up, fellas? Glad to be
here. Hey, glad to have you here as well.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, we got a different mix up here. I think we're in for a pretty good show here tonight. All things considered, I think Gergat's probably going to be. He'll probably be in the comments hanging out here. So definitely go in the comment section if you want to. Mix it up with them a little bit, mix it with us. We encourage all the commenting. We encourage all the likes, posts, subscribing, however you want to participate here in this show. We do appreciate it. We're going to read some comments here tonight. We got a few different topics coming up here on the slate. We got some Cleveland Browns news. They got a new stadium they're trying to float around here, get some taxpayer dollars involved. So we're going to discuss that. And we have the NCAA, which are, I'd say they're being cut by the federal government. So there's a lot of different ramifications that go in with college and collegiate sports. And a couple different things here with Title IX. And then I think I don't call it breaking news, but definitely came here a couple of days ago. Trump's back on the menu in Colorado. He's reinstated Supreme Court full ruling here. So we're going to go into discussion about that. And then finally, a nice little tweet from Mr.Beast. He had some things to say about our politicians being able to talk about, or being able to buy and sell stocks. So we got a couple good topics here for us tonight. And as always, we cannot do this show without our wizard, the man behind the keyboards, Brian.
What up, people? Be Rizzle my shizzle on TikTok. Go hit me up over there. I just uploaded a couple of videos. I don't know if I'm getting the hang of it, but we shall see. We got
you're getting
this
there.
Week of this week is the last week of snowboarding, and it ends this weekend.
Oof.
Let's go.
Ooh. Alrighty, so off to our first topic here today, the Cleveland Browns Stadium. So Doug, this one's probably near and dear to our hearts here as fellow Clevelandiers.
For sure.
This one's Clevelandiers. Yeah,
I don't know. That doesn't necessarily sound.
We're part
roll off the tongue.
It does not.
Isn't
roll
it
off the tongue.
Cleavelander?
You know what? I think
that's what it is. Like the bar
Clevelanders
downtown.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. The Clevelanders. So I know you got a lot of thoughts here on this stadium. I'm going to probably open up here with my opening statements on this one. I am not the biggest fan of taxpayer funded stadiums. And for those of you listening at home who don't understand, there's been some rumblings. There's some news. The owners of the Cleveland Browns are anticipating moving the stadium and have gone through several different renditions. Them in the city have kind of come to terms that we're going to get something new, whether that's going to be on the lake, whether it's going to be right near, I don't want to say even downtown. It's a little further down than downtown, right next to the airport. They bought some land here. And I'm not, it's going to happen. One way or another, we're going to have.
Something will happen.
Something will happen. Our taxpayer dollars will be funding something, whether we like it or not. So the Cleveland Browns, they're not going to be moving from. They're not. the owners aren't going to take this team and put it somewhere else. They're gonna keep them right there. They're going to fleece the city, because we all remember the last time back in the 90s when they moved. It wasn't pretty. No one liked it.
But there is a law now preventing teams from moving out of the state or something, out of the city, because of us.
Is this an
It's the
Ohio
Art
law?
Modell
Or is this
law.
is
the
Art
Ohio
Mo-
law? Yeah, it's an Ohio law. That's what prevented the Cleveland Crew, or was it not the Cleveland Crew, Columbus Crew, from moving, is because we have a law that if an owner wants to move, they have to then sell the team. If someone's willing to buy it, they have to sell it before moving, taking up the option of moving. And that's why the Haslams ended up buying that, because they were going to move and it was up for sale.
Interesting. I actually didn't know that.
They won't probably move out, but like they are probably going to move somewhere, like in the area, but they're not going to leave Cleveland.
So where do you think they're going to end up being?
So like it's either they spend a bunch of money, renovate, but part of it's still probably going to be taxpayer dollars there, or the Haslams are looking at buying a plot of land by the airport, like you said. That's pretty out of Cleveland.
Yep.
But like they'd be able to build a brand new stadium while still playing in that old one. Like if they wanted to build a stadium downtown, there's not a lot of space for them to build a new football stadium downtown. Like where the stadium currently, unless they want to tear down Burke Lakefront Airport, that's a whole other discussion. But the city has plans for that. They want to turn it into like a lakefront thing. I think it's either going to be a renovation of the stadium to get it another X amount of years that they'll agree to on a lease, because the team lease is up. That's part of it too. It's going to be up soon. But I think Cleveland wants a dome. And I think the people of Cleveland want a dome. Retractable roof, not a dome. They want a retractable roof. We want to play when it's nice and also play when it's crappy.
So as a Clevelander, I do in fact want a dome. If we're gonna spend the X, hundreds of millions going into billions at this point,
I'm more okay with our money being spent if at least we're getting something that everyone will benefit from. More people will be able to go to games if you're not in a negative 20-degree blizzard at the end of the year. And we'll be able to host more events, which will boost it. We could host a Super Bowl technically.
We could. And we saw quite a bit of traffic here when we hosted the All-Star, the NBA All-Star games.
And the MLB All-Star game too.
Oh, that's right. No, yeah, that's right. So we have the capacity, we have the ability to be able to host these major events. It's probably going to break us at the seams, but we can do it. I think the spirit of Cleveland can live on even through a major sporting event coming through. But I think I probably agree with you here on that, Doug. I don't want a half-ass stadium. I don't want just to renovate.
We'll be spending taxpayer dollars no matter what. You may not like it. The question more is how much taxpayer dollars versus Haslam, because no matter what, taxpayer dollars will go into it.
Yeah.
It's more of, do you want to then get your money's worth? Like, that stadium was hastily built in like 3 years because we had to have a new stadium to get our team back. We had a set date. They were finishing construction the day before opening day at the Cleveland Browns Stadium, because we had to build in such a hurry. It's not a great stadium. No. It's also fairly old now compared to the other stadiums around the league. And so like if we could pay for less money and get a renovation that buys us another maybe 10, 20 years, or we could just bite the bullet, put the money into it now and build something nice, new, and something that like makes everyone proud and wants to come to Cleveland, because like, oh, Cleveland just built a new stadium. Let's go. Oh, you know what? We'll go like in the middle of December to a Browns game, because they have like a retractable roof stadium.
Yeah, as much as the people want to, complain and bitch, like, well, this is football weather. I want to be out when it's cold. No, you don't. The ticket sales exactly tell the same story. When it was fucking cold outside,
not
in
even
Cleveland,
ticket sales. Tickets are usually sold. It's just more people would rather bite the cost and sit at home.
Yeah, exactly. They're not showing up to these cold ass games, even if we're doing well. This last year was maybe a little bit of an exception, because it never got truly that cold to where it's you won't be able to go. I think it was like
that bad.
I think it was like 2021 or something where we had like the -5 degrees for like a couple days in a row. That
was like a year or two ago, that Christmas Eve game.
Yeah, that's cold. No one wants to go to that.
Didn't go. I had tickets with my dad. He's like, we're just gonna like freeze our butts off there and leave at first quarter or halftime. Let's just stay home and watch it. And I'm like, okay.
And anymore with these NFL teams, if we're going to start throwing the ball a bit more, you want to be indoors. You want to control the environment. It can maybe get a little louder. You can rattle the other team a little bit. This is where that dome comes in. Anything other than that, I think it's just a waste of tax. It's already a waste of taxpayer dollars.
If we're gonna build a new stadium, why not just pay that little bit more then and design a stadium? Because like people are like, oh, why don't we just add something to our current stadium? Like that's been a thought, is we can renovate the stadium and add something, not make it a fully enclosed, but at least give it a cover.
Yeah.
And that costs so much money and would like so much work because it wasn't designed. If we design it with that intention, I don't think it's going to be like as bad as like it's just we have to build a stadium no matter what. Might as well just design that into it and make it part of the construction.
Yeah. We got any comments here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex was saying,
Gurgat.
what do you guys think about football removing the weather element? Is it the same sport we grew up on without a mud bowl or a snow bowl with these indoor stadiums? And that goes with turf as well.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
I'd argue like it's different because we're paying a lot of money to go to these games. They're getting paid a lot of money to play these games. We might as well be comfortable to pay the salaries of the people. It's different when you're in Pee-wee or high school, middle school. You're not being paid. You're paying to play. And
We're
you
also-
have no say in what stadium you play in or
Yeah.
what you play on.
We're also not the ones playing in the football game. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
a snow game looks cool.
It's fun.
Yeah,
but, like,
mud game
we
is
have to
fun.
sit there and watch.
Yeah, I got to sit there and watch. This is remember at the end of the day, this is all for the fans. This is not for, this isn't for the TV product. This is for the fans. So I want an indoor stadium so I can be able to watch the game, participate, do other things that isn't just looking at it. So what's the stadium being used for right now? Nothing. The occasional Top Golf experience.
I do want to do that.
It looks cool. And
Looks
now
fun.
I think that's the one thing we really take away if we get a dome. But that's a sacrifice I'm
Would
willing
it
to
take
take.
it away? It will be a pretty high stadium roof still. I think they could probably still do it.
Well, we got some good engineers.
You won't be
out
able
there.
to take a driver and probably whack it, but like, you could probably use some irons.
The only thing I would really miss out on is the Brown Stadium has one of the very few unique features that like no other stadium really in the world has. You can sailgate at the Brown Stadium. So they have a boating dock that you're able to go out into because remember, you're right out in the lake and it's right out and essentially in like a marine, like a lagoon area.
Oh, you're talking about over by like the Science Center and all,
Yeah.
and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
You
over
can
there.
get a boat, you can get a couple, a case of beer, and you can go to tailgate. You can sailgate. It's one of the few places in the world you can legitimately sailgate
and
for
that's
a
something
sporting
we
event.
would lose if we moved the stadium.
If we move the stadium,
Because but the question is, do we want to stay on the lakefront? Like the reason why people really want to probably fight moving the stadium at all, unless it's going to be downtown, like moving it by the airport, people really have strong feelings on that. But like reason why people like it where it is that was where our original stadium was, you know, like Cleveland Municipal Stadium. And so like, but we also didn't have a team when we built it. That's why we were able to build it there.
Yeah.
Like if we want to keep like, where would the Cleveland Browns play if we did want to play there? Because that means we'd have to tear it down and then build a new stadium there, which would mean years of no stadium for the Browns. I can't think of a big enough stadium other than Ohio State.
Mhm.
And then they're the Columbus Browns at that point.
Yeah, I don't think the university would even want to entertain having
they
the
probably
Browns.
would.
Well,
They
have
did spring training or
well,
training
they
camp
maybe
down
do
there.
a game or two, but not an actual team. So that's why it's just you're not going to move it. The Cincinnati Bengals owners like, no, I don't want you moving closer to my territory. So the Browns are stuck where they're at. Who
Columbus
really wants
is
to?
neutral territory, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's
It is. Keep
neutral
it
territory.
neutral. All right. So my wrapping thoughts here on this one. We got one more.
We got another comment.
Oh, another comment.
Alex chiming in.
Chiming in again. All right. Well,
Indoor stadiums give us a chance to host a Super Bowl, so that's the plus and definitely the incentive. But I like watching the gladiators slide around. LOL.
Well, we could probably get a hose out there.
I mean, just because, like, okay, if it's like a 90-degree summer day and a storm blows in or like it's raining, they probably won't close it for that. It's probably more for, okay, it's 20 degrees outside, snow blizzard's coming in, let's close it and keep it nice. Like, I bet, like, on a summer day, if it starts to rain or if it's rain, like, if it's nice, they'll probably keep it open because it's probably going to take like those roofs take time to open and close.
Yeah.
So pretty much they either.
Well, and also if you're sliding around the field, that's not effective in the game of football. So at the end of the day, I want our team to win.
It also destroys the field that those grounds crews worked so
Yeah,
hard
it
on.
just
Remember
makes it-
that asshole last year took a pickup truck and drove and
Oh.
ditched the field,
Oh
and
my
you could
God.
see you could see the tire tracks the whole rest of the season.
Yeah, oh, I just unlocked a memory there. Yeah.
Oh,
what,
yeah.
What an asshole! Don't
Yeah,
do
right?
that.
What a piece of shit.
Don't do that on the do that. You
Go
know
to
what-
some high school
you-
field.
You know what's across the street from the Brown Stadium? The State House. How about you go over there and go right around there?
Or
No,
just drive the truck into the courthouse and get arrested for it. You know, if you're that dumb, you're probably dumb enough to do that.
Yeah. All right, we got one more here.
No. So a couple things.
Okay.
The property that was, I don't know if it was it actually purchased.
They're strongly considering. I
Yeah.
don't think they finalized yet, but like they are looking at it for sure.
Because it used to be the old Ford plant, and
Oh, is
That-
that what that is?
yeah, they tore it down and leveled it, and
didn't even
it's just a huge open field right now. It's right across the street from the RTA station that leads right into the airport, and it would be super convenient for visitors flying in. They just jump on the rapid, first stop, go across the street. The major drawbacks would be, it's very congested over there already. And with all the
Oh, it's
highways,
terrible over there. Sometimes
480, 71, 80, which is the turnpike, they're all right there. And they would have to justify bringing in alternate routes and possibly buying even more land to put
they would
just
have to
strictly
build like
roads.
their own exit and like road system because like there's not a lot of options through there. Like there's not a lot of. You have like the main road and then some like really small roads and then you have the highways. Like they would definitely need it, but it would be like almost like the Richfield Coliseum built in the middle of nowhere, and they had one road to get in and out of that. Like I'd have to assume they put a little thought into this at least.
Yeah,
That
or
was-
like Blossom, where they added a second entrance.
yes, which was
Um,
so needed.
And I think the other thing too, you want some synergy amongst the how the stadium plays with the rest of the city. So I think what's really cool about the way, if you ever drive through 71 to try to get to the stadium as it is from out of town, you got to drive through the city. You got to see downtown and everything Cleveland has to offer before you even get to that stadium. And then here's the other aspect of it too. So let's say in our dream world, we're going to have an indoor stadium right on the lakefront, right where the stadium is now. And it's going to host all sorts of different events. So what do they call Cleveland? It's the capital of rock and roll. So we are, Cleveland Rocks, and we're right next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum. You can have that synergy by having the indoor stadium there and then the spot where it's always been.
Year-round concerts.
Exactly.
Instead of the 1 or 2 a year you get scheduled around a Browns game.
And we can sell out a big stadium. We've seen it with Machine Gun Kelly. That might be a special occasion because he's a Cleveland
I
native.
went to like some country concert there in high school like 10 years ago, and it was like packed, sold out. I don't know, sold out, but packed.
Yeah.
I mean, really packed, more packed than I thought it would have been.
Yeah, but we have the capability to be able to do this. So let's turn it over, Ricky. We got any thoughts here?
Sorry, couldn't hear me. I had to turn the volumes. But
You're good.
ain't nothing like your stadium being downtown. The atmosphere. After a 4 o'clock game, you go to the bars and stuff. You put that bad boy by the airport. What is that? What are we? We're catching a flight after the game? No. We need to circulate the money in the city, in the end city. When you're so far out, a lot of business is gonna lose business. And yeah, it's fun. It ain't as fun as to say Cleveland Browns. Well, we're gonna be Berea Browns.
Yeah, the Strongsville
I think it would
Browns.
be Brook
It-
Park.
it Brook
Browns.
Park.
Yeah.
It'd be Brook Park.
And,
yeah.
and the
Farmer
funny part
Browns.
is, it would be across the street. Like Cleveland is across the street.
other side of the
Brook
road.
Park is the dividing line, and they would be on that dividing line. So they would be in Brook Park.
Ah,
Yeah.
and also right by. I mean, I agree with everything Ricky just said. Like it would suck because like there's nothing. It's all businesses or like warehouses or like stuff like that over there, manufacturing like Ford was, and there's nothing there. But also, most of our games are 1 p.m. anyways. So really the main crowd is everyone tailgates, and then most people after the Browns go home because sometimes it ends so poorly. You're like, I just want to go home and cry. So it's like, at least if it's over there, you could probably tailgate still, and then, hop right on the highway, go home.
It would be, it would be easier getting on and off, and it would be, you'd also have an opportunity to expand a little bit more too within cheaper land. So really, just isn't a whole lot of space to expand whatever we're doing in our spot right now.
Right now, the Browns don't own it. The city owns
Yeah.
it. So if the Haslam's buy that land, they might be trying to push to actually own it then and have the city just kind of help out. Like right now, the Browns are basically the tenants and the city is the owner. So I wonder if Jimmy's trying to make a strategic play here. It's like, I want to own it. I want more control. So we'll buy our own land and build our own stadium. Still take your money, but it's going to be ours unless you play ball and give us everything we want.
Oh boy.
Jimmy's a slew businessman. Like, let's not forget, he was almost indicted on that pilot flying J thing. He missed it by the skin of his pants.
I forgot about that. But yeah, that comes to my wrapping thoughts on this whole thing. I, with a passion, hate that we have taxpayer funded stadiums in which the taxpayers see very little benefit from the actual production of the stadium, the resources, everything that goes along with that. Because we don't get a cut of the proceeds. We don't get a discount off the tickets. We don't get percentage sale off of merchandise. We just have to take it, deal with it. And if we don't like it, well, it doesn't matter. Right now, the Browns, no one's buying the Browns. No one, they're not going to be able to move it. So we're just kind of stuck in this limbo that we're not able to get out of. I don't know. What do you think? What are your wrapping thoughts here?
I definitely agree. Don't like the idea that we have to put money in. I don't like that it's just like our area that has to do that. Like sometimes the state throws in, but it's really Cleveland and the county. But like maybe we should seek some help from the surrounding counties, make a multi-county thing, because like Cleveland has its syntax to fund this. Well, that's not going to be enough. They're already almost out of money.
Yeah.
So I don't like that we have to spend tax dollars, especially when Jimmy Haslam is a billionaire, just sold Pilot Flying J for another X amount of billions. Definitely richer now. And he could afford to build that stadium, own it himself, make money off of every event he hosts there. But he still is going to want our money. And I guess as long as we get what Cleveland wants, like as long as it's what Cleveland wants and needs, I'll accept it a little more. Like if we waste taxpayer dollar to do the renovation, I'll be pissed off. But if we spend a little bit more of our money and get a nice retractable roof stadium that we can use year round with minimal taxpayer dollar, I'll be happy. Basically, though, it's going to come down to taxpayer either way. Got to be realistic. I want the dome then.
Yeah,
I want it.
I agree. I want it as well. If we have no choice, I'd rather take the best option for us, really.
Yeah, for us, the fans, like that is the best option for us because then we're more comfortable paying our season ticket fees and going in the middle of winter.
Yeah. Do we have any final thoughts here from the Peanut Gallery?
So look, we are dogs. We are the Browns. I don't hear Green Bay crying. I don't hear Chicago crying. We don't need a retractable roof. The scenery at Cleveland Browns Stadium, I know the wind be hitting sometime, but like that's part of it, man. You get cozy up, you get boozed up, and you go to that game. That is football. These fancy SoFi Stadium, we're not fancy. We's dogs. That's my rapping talk. We some dogs. We don't need nothing retractable. Leave it right where it's at. We don't need to pay for it. Haslam has enough money, as y'all said. I agree.
Ryan?
Yes. 2028's coming up soon. They do need to make a decision sooner than later.
They can temporarily extend the lease if they come to an agreement, but that's the deadline right there.
Yeah. I like the idea of it being a block away from my work in a way.
Yeah.
But and it'll bring a ton of business to Brook Park and go Brook Park. But yeah, having somebody completely own the stadium and making it a dome, I don't know. It sounds a bit outstretched for Cleveland standards.
So yeah, I think wrapping up here. Jimmy Haslam and Justin Mayer-Bibb. If you are watching this, which I'm sure they are,
Let us know.
They're
I
probably
would
big
actually
fans of the
like
show.
to talk to both of them.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on the show.
many questions for them.
But we also here the Rethink Tank endorse having a dome stadium right where the current stadium is. So I think that's fair.
Ideally, where the current stadium is would
Yep.
be nice.
So we're just gonna go ahead and put our vote of confidence out there for him. Moving on to our next topic here. So the NCAA has just been their power has been taken away from them by a federal district judge. So to catch you up to speed on what happened here. So the NCAA, as we probably all know here, is a institution, governing body that represents pretty much every collegiate or every collegiate sport within the group organizations. So essentially every public and private university, for profit, no profit, all of them essentially are members of the NCAA. And the NCAA is what rules and they jurisdict pretty much everything that goes on with the any sporting event that happens within the grounds of every single college. Essentially, they've had their run in here these past couple of years with the government and with players' rights, with the NIL. There's all sorts of different factors that the NCAA has been losing. So their biggest loss here, and I think the one that is the nail in the coffin of this, is Tennessee was going to be fined by the NCAA, punished, so to say, for the act of having a booster take a recruit on a plane and kind of wine them and dine them and just do some recruiting for them. And in the age of NIL, name, image, and likeness, this is, for the most part, free or legal for any player to be able to do. Now, there is some guidelines within the NCAA that says, hey, you're not exactly allowed to pay a player for the sole purpose of coming to your school, because the intent for this whole thing was that the players have their name, image, and likeness, and they're able to they can monetize that however they see fit. Doing Dr. Pepper commercials, being the face of State Farm, or just throwing out a tweet for a local Subway and saying, hey, go eat some of our subs down here in Cleveland State.
Did you call horse subs?
No, did I? Nah. Anyway, there's probably some horse meat in there, but that's a different topic.
Their tuna legally isn't tuna. That was a lawsuit. If you remember.
That was, yeah, I do remember that. So what brought us here? Today is, again, the Tennessee sued the NCAA, and the state of Tennessee sued it on behalf of the University of Tennessee to be able to basically take away, not say take away powers, but limit their ability to be able to punish them based on rules that the NCAA now says, hey, you're allowed to do this. So district court went and said, hey, you're not allowed to do this anymore. You can't rule on laws that you have previously. It's like the marijuana laws. I can't just arrest you now because you did marijuana like 10 years ago. It doesn't work that way. So now the NCAA is in a real big pickle. They have no power to do really anything. They cannot enforce their own rules. They can't enforce any aspect of the game of college. And now college football and collegiate sports are running away with it. Good. So this is gonna have some ramifications towards, oh boy, Title IX, women's sports. This isn't just college football in itself. This is going to be the first domino that basically says, if you like your synchronized swimming team, they're gone. They're out of here. Part of that's because these schools don't want to pay into the NCAA, and they're going to start governing themselves. And when they start governing themselves, there is no more. They're not restricted by some of the laws in the governing body here. So the NCAA is kind of a weird governing organization. It's quasi-private, quasi part of the government in and itself, and they're now just being struck down. So what are your thoughts here?
So the NCAA is, in my opinion, one of the worst organizations in college history. So all this stuff, they totally look the other way when colleges make up fake courses for the athletes. They had no problem making NCAA, EA Sports football for years, making money until they realized that it could cost them money. and like all they care about is putting money in their pockets, and just basically coming up with their own rules to pretty much keep the players down. Now, I don't think the players should get millions of dollars, because college should be what they're getting paid. They're getting free college. We all paid a lot of money to go to college.
Yeah. So
like, that's what I think they should be getting paid. But then if NCAA or someone wants to use their name and likeness for something, they should get paid for that. But like, there's been talk for years of college football moving out of the umbrella of the NCAA, because the NCAA is like is its own organization. They're have their own policies that benefit them as a whole, not like programs or not like sports. And so there's been talk of years of like of college football moving and just putting everything under the umbrella of college football, like FCS.
Yeah,
FBS,
having the
instead of
conferences govern
NCAA.
themselves.
Or not even just that, like it would be under the FBS, like would be in charge, like they'd be the ruling thing. Or by conference center, like conferences would rule and the conferences would get together, because they're sick of all the rules that the NCAA are making and like the policies that like they make and everything. I don't know. I think it's great, because I don't think they should be able to just go, no, we don't like what you did, when every other college is doing this. And then, the Wolverines can cheat and all that stuff. And we're going to let them go. Like it was the Big Ten, right? That did that put the thing on hardball.
Yep.
NCAA was like, we're going to wait and see, we don't want to get involved.
Because I think with a theme we hit upon the show quite a bit is absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. And when you give an organization total control, total authority, total power on how they're judge, jury, and executioner, there is no outside of these universities involving their state governors, kind of wasting our tax dollars so that they can sue on behalf of the state against, a quasi government institution. We're seeing they're just unfair about how they police other schools. They bully some schools, but kind of let others go. And it's wild. The bias, the corruption, just the absolute hypocrisy this organization has been ruling with for the past. We've just been allowing it for the past 100 years. This has been around for as long as college football has been around, and probably not any longer than that. But we're seeing an end of an era. And it's there's going to be some ramifications that come from this, because there's one aspect of the NCAA, if you don't know, Doug, that the CTE, all the kind of the health effects that come along with, at least let's start with football and some other sports, but mostly it's
you talk about CTE, the concussions, all that stuff.
Yeah, the parents and the players that sue the schools for putting them in a position for the CTE. You don't hear too much about this, because the NCAA, they can't just sue the school. They sue the NCAA, and then the NCAA takes on all of those lawsuits, and then they basically defend these schools on behalf of them.
But you also probably signed some waiver saying you're not going to sue the school in the event of injury because you're playing the sport. I mean, hell, we had to sign that to play high school sports. We had to sign that to play Pee-wee football with the rec.
Well, those
guaranteed they signed something.
Those contracts only only as good as long as the person that makes you sign them is upholding their end of the bargain. So, like bungee jumping, you can't sue us because you kind of scraped your arm a little bit going through this activity. You can sue us if the guy who pushes you off the ledge wasn't paying attention and there's only 10 cables instead of 20 cables like it's supposed to be, and you knock your head and knock yourself out and it's all bad. So there is a certain aspect that's why that CTE thing is a little bit more gray than I think the black and white than we want to see it as, because there is a factor of, Johnny quarterback, you just got your bell rung, but I can't win this game unless you're in here. So I'm going to put you back out here, even if you are seeing ghosts and stars. That's under that circumstance.
Okay, if that happened, that is definitely like they're going to get sued for that. Just like the Browns did with Johnny Manziel. Like the Browns are the reason why the NFL have all these. Or not, it wasn't Johnny Manziel. It was Colt McCoy.
Yep.
That is why the NFL has all these rules now, is because he came out the field clearly suffering from concussions, and they threw him back out there, and he got like totally messed up.
Yeah. So there, at a certain point, these institutions do need to be held responsible. They need to be they need to be accountable for their actions, and they can't just throw them out there under the guise of one institution. So it's going to be interesting to see how this necessarily plays out. And I think another aspect that I find interesting as well. So the NCAA has a few rules on how with Title IX. Are you familiar with Title IX?
Oh yeah, Title IX though wouldn't be affected by this, I think, because because it's like school specific, pretty much. Like you have NCAA is the governing body to make sure, but what happens is like you go to Ohio State's football and basketball bring in enough money to fund all the other programs, and that's how they make sure that those other sports that they have to do are being done and are funded and being able to give out whatever minor number of scholarships. You know, football gets most of the scholarships, but football and basketball make sure that they have the money.
Yeah.
And so I don't think the NCAA going away is going to affect that, because Title IX is also like a federal law. So if the NCAA is not around anymore, the state and all the schools are going to have to continue to follow that.
Well, I think where Title IX falls in for the NCAA is the NCAA actually limits the scholarships you're allowed to have. So if you didn't know this, it's like the baseball program of every school is limited to like X amount of scholarships.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's like 30, maybe
it's
20
to make
or something.
sure that there's like an even amount for both men and women and popular and non-popular sports. But that's why like the women's basketball team gets like 4 scholarships for their whole team, and they split them up into like half scholarships or some bull crap, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
and in this,
but that won't change even if the NCAA goes away, because who makes the money is who's going to get the scholarships either way. It's more of they're providing this sport, and that's what Title IX is about. They're providing the sport and they're giving it a fair opportunity to play.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah. And I think if you're the most dominant collegiate program in all of the United States is the Ohio State women's synchronized swimming team. They've won something crazy like 27 national titles in a row.
Miami's was the synchronized like skating team.
Yep.
Miami's was like pretty good.
So if you have a program where you put resources in, you're successful, but the governing body in which you participate in tells you, well, you know, synchronized swimming, although let's just say in a bizarro world, it's the most, it brings in the most money of any other sport. I can't have scholarships that affect the value. And because I bring in all this money, I'm limited by this governing body that isn't consistent amongst its rules. I find that just to be antithetical. It's just nonsense.
The NCAA is nonsense.
Well, I think we can both agree on that.
I mean, like, they made money for years off these people. The moment they started getting wind of, we could get sued for making a video game with these people's names, they stopped. Instead of like just figuring out something, they stopped. It wasn't until states started passing these laws that college athletes could get name and likeness that this really passed by the NCAA, because they didn't want to lose that power. They didn't want to lose that money. But really, in my opinion, if a player is going to get name and likeness money, then they should have to give up their scholarship.
Well, that's definitely a hot take on that end. Do we have any pro NCAA voters here in the comments section?
All right. I have something to say after Ricky jumps in.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Ricky, what we think?
Sorry, I got on mute. But the NCAA, corrupt, always been, right?
Thank you.
Struggling people trying to make a better living, go to school. They get scholarship and stuff like that. They can get like aid off the government and stuff like, like a regular student that's not an athlete. They get like help if they're on like scholarship, certain students. So okay, let me go to my main point. Sorry guys. My main point is get rid of all the power conference should be one conference. The top 64 teams, that's D1. And that should be, get rid of the NCAA. All the conferences should just come together and say, we're sitting down and we're going to do this. I think Doug said it earlier. We're going to officiate this. They have a 12 game coming out next year. They can move it up to 16 and start it a little earlier on Christmas. I don't know, a week earlier, and just go through football all the way through January. End of January ends right there. Super Bowl is in a week. What could be better than that?
No, I agree. I
I'm
think
so excited for the expanded college football playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to
think
be
it's gonna
really
be-
good.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
Oh, it's gonna be a great, especially these on campus.
More money for the NCAA now too. Isn't that convenient?
Well, yeah, and now and I think that might be part of the reason why everyone's starting to sue the NCAA to get away from
Get
it.
rid of them.
I
Get
don't
rid of
want to.
them.
You don't. I'm not giving you a slice of my pie.
I mean, these conferences are already dying too.
Yeah.
Like the Big 10 is going to be Big 16 soon. You know, like
Yeah. So that's why we get rid of all the conference, the Big 10, Pac-12, and just make it a top 64 schools that competes in this bracket. Not every school gets the funding or have the
March
funding.
Madness of football.
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. Oh my lord,
That
bro.
would be
January
awesome. The
football,
whole football season is
Bro.
just a bracket.
bro. That would be crazy. And you have your 64 teams, and you know this is the top 64 teams in the country, college teams in the country, and they just go through it based off East, West, South. Winners of conference, like that conference, goes to the Natties. They go to the tournament, and I don't think and get rid of NCAA. Only point I'll push back, Doug. Not every student get enough money to pay for their school off the NIL. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would be kind of like lapsadaisical.
Okay, but there are some
I'm
of
using
these
words I don't
athletes
know.
that are getting like $1 million. You know, like the big name people are getting so much money that they definitely shouldn't be taking a scholarship from someone else.
Yes, I agree.
You know, like
They should be a
like,
tax
if you're-
bracket like
if you're-
taxes.
Yeah. If you're just getting the $600 from the NCAA to be in EA Sports, like the football game, that should not be enough. I agree there.
Facts.
But then,
Facts.
then there's those quarterbacks or the big recruited players who are just making bank off of their NIL.
Yeah, and those guys like Bronny, Shiloh, Sanders, they're already made. They're made before they even went to college. You know, based off their
Archie,
family.
Manning too.
Arch Manning.
He's gonna,
That
he's gonna
man,
make
yeah,
some
Arch.
money. I think he's refusing.
I think he's
to be
making
in
like
the game.
2.5 mil.
It's also not playing football either. It's like
Yeah, he's a backup.
refusing to be in the games. Like, well, I'm not going to be here. You're not playing. You know what do you?
Sure.
You know, you're not even a starting quarterback. You're a backup. You're probably going to end up being a starter.
He'd be in the game though. Like he would be an option. Like I remember my buddy bought the game, the last one, and there was some quarterback who was the backup that year was made, but then was the starter the next year, and he would like go into the lineup and put him in every time. And I can't remember the guy's name.
They have
It's like-
packages for Archie or when they're blown out a team. They have packages for him or when they're blown out a team, but like
It's
he
always
doesn't
good to
get
have a
enough
backup
game
quarterback
time.
ready to go.
Yeah, he
He's
doesn't
only-
get enough playing
he's only
time to
one
have
play
make
away from
2.5
being-
mil.
Yeah.
he's making a lot of money.
Yeah,
College
so
kid making that much money is stupid.
Yep. And you're seeing, you know, I think on one hand it is helping because we're not seeing the stories of the athletes, you know, getting in a lot of fights or, you know, causing problems on campus, what young people do. They're pretty much now this whole money situation's been
It's a job now for him.
It's a job. So they have something to lose. There's skin in the game. Now now we see some problems with like the Georgia's football team. They're going out and racing all their nice cars around campus, and someone did die. A player did get killed in like a car accident. But for the most part, just like normal behavior we've seen from these athletes in years past that is fairly negative. We're not seeing a whole lot of that anymore. We're not seeing any sexual assault. We're not seeing any abuse. We're not seeing any just regular assault. They have something to lose. They don't want to lose it. We're getting better behavior from players on campus, which I think is a good outcome. I think for the most part, everybody wins.
I mean, if I was going to get paid $2 million, I would not have gone out and partied as much in college.
I might
because
have
I was
partied
getting
more.
$2 million. I would have been sitting home like a good boy, maybe studying the playbook, but I definitely would have been going out getting drunk off my ass and possibly fall down a hill or get hit by a car crossing the street or get in a bar fight because I'm drunk as shit.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to risk that if you're getting $2 million.
Or you just have someone, you know, you're a little drunk at a bar. You see, I don't know, Michigan starting quarterback sitting right across from me here. You try to harass him a little bit because there's people out there that
Try and get him to do something.
try to get him to do something, so
Oh,
then I
yeah.
can sue you and I get money
Well,
out of you.
especially because it's Michigan. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course
yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
So I'm probably avoiding it just
Why
because of
not?
that. I don't know what guy's gonna come try to cause problems with me just to get
True.
money out of
And there's also a bad part to the NIL as well, because there's a player that's signed and he has to like give up like 10% of every income he makes for the rest of his life. So there's a lot to improve on the NIL as well, even though the
he's dumb to have signed that
NCAA
contract. Then
Didn't he?
he's
Yeah.
basically an indentured servant now.
facts. It's that a lot of people don't have the guidance. They see the money up front that they're getting now, and they're trying to help family or whatsoever, or just shine. They're gonna just do it and think it's over with. And so there needs to be more structure on the NIL, but the NCAA don't want to pay these players. So we just need to get rid of them and start this all over again. Just start the whole college football structure over again.
Yeah.
The
And I think
foundation is there already.
Yeah, and I think that leads to my wrapping thoughts on this one. Is the NCAA could do so much more. They have one of the very rare circumstances in an organization that they're able to have unilateral control, but they wield it with such inconsistency and with such a corrupt handle that they're just negative. It's a negative experience for the student athletes because they're there for the student athletes. They're there for the individual. They're not there for the school. They help with the school a little bit, but their end goal is to help student athletes. And just like what Ricky said, there's these NIL contracts that set you up poorly for life if you were to hit it big. And the predatory nature of how some of these are coming through, this is the opportunity for the NCAA to really step in and be a good governing body and have that ability, wield that sword with the power and authority that it should. But instead, it's spending more time just it's pissing away its power by harassing the University of Tennessee, harassing some of these small schools.
Because they couldn't go after Ohio State.
Yeah, well, they even tried.
They didn't even go after Michigan.
Well, they did go after Michigan for because Jim Harbaugh gave him a burger
a little bit.
I don't agree with that. But this is just.
I think they went after them though because they knew Harbaugh was probably gonna they knew he was going to leave or was thinking of leaving. Like they were like, all right, let's just try and push him out altogether.
Yeah. And they went against Ohio State for the tattoo thing they didn't receive money. They received impressionable benefits.
They got nothing besides they didn't. Yeah. That was just the NCAA being dumb. And then here's the other part of that, like when they go to these bowl games, the players are getting like swag bags. They're getting gift bags. Yeah. And the gift bags like have iPads and phones or like high-tech electronics, gift cards, stuff like that. And the NCAA is okay with them getting that, but God forbid the kid get a damn tattoo.
Yeah. So it's not consistent and it doesn't make sense. And this is, I'm happy to see it go. But at the same time, I'm a little scared to see what the other end of this veil looks like. So we can't have NCAA control and it be a good thing without the reason why it's there is also a bad thing as well. I don't know. What are your wrapping thoughts here?
I don't think you can ever see the light until you see the darkness. So maybe we should get rid of the NCAA and see what's on the other side because I don't think it could be any worse.
Okay.
I don't think it could be any worse. And honestly, I love Ricky's idea, get rid of the NCAA, get rid of conferences, and at least for football, it makes sense because you have the big schools for that and all that. Or I honestly just think FBS, the football bowl system or whatever it's called, have that run the whole
be the
football.
Central body
be the
football.
Central body for football and do something. NCAA, I think people are just finally done with it. Yep. And then now you even got the court going, nah, you have way too much power.
Yeah. Brett Kavanaugh famously said in his dissenting or in his primary opinion that you don't have the power to be antitrust. And if you want to wield that power, we're going to wield our power against you.
They are trust. They have a monopoly.
They do have a monopoly.
They are the managing body of all college sports. Maybe it is time we break it up.
Yep. Break up power. Brian, what are we thinking?
So I got something to it might stir the pot a little bit.
All right. All right. What do we got?
What do you guys think about Chip Kelly coming to take over the offensive coordinator position at Ohio State from the head position of UCLA to offensive coordinator?
So in my biased opinion,
Yes.
I think it's the best thing in the world. I dreamed of this quite a while ago, back in, I think it was either 2013, 2014, might even be a little 2015 as well, where Chip Kelly got fired, I believe, from his half a year stint at the San Francisco 49ers after he got fired from the Philadelphia Eagles. He had an opportunity to be Ohio State's offensive coordinator way back when. And I was petitioning for it secretly on the message boards, really hoping he would show up. He did not, because he got a head coach job. Well, he took a year off, I think. And then he got a head coach job at UCLA. But to see him as the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, this is probably the best move Ryan Day has done coordinator-wise. So not only do we get the experience and the gravitas that Chip Kelly brings, we get also his football intellect. He's not a dummy. Yeah, the hurry up, no huddle offense was kind of ran its course, but it's not like he hasn't evolved. A lot of his schemes are really more run based, and especially with our new kind of dual threat at the running back position. I think we're really set up for a title run this year, more so than any other time outside of maybe 2015 when we brought back the entire national championship team back. We're set for a run this year. It's national title or bust here for Ohio State. What do you think?
I mean, third time's the charm. Isn't he our third hire? We had the original dude who then left, and we hired someone that he left, and now we have him. So third time's the charm.
Yep, I agree. Anything, Ricky?
So, Chip Kelly, man, that is a powerful hire. I love it, as you said as well. I love it. His offense from Oregon, I love it. It's gonna spread the offense. I don't trust Ryan Day. I don't trust him. I can't trust him. I don't know. It's just something in his face when I look at him. It just say, "Don't trust him."
Is it the rosy?
I never
cheeks?
liked him. And I appreciate someone that's been there, been in the pros. He didn't have success in the pros, but he had success on the college level, and I love it. Ain't nothing wrong with it. But to the rapid thoughts on the NCAA, David, when you said they can make a redemption right now, they can. They really can if they set up to make like good examples, like good lawyers or something for kids that sign in deals and stuff of that sort. They can really govern this in some way. But what Doug said, nailed it in the coffin. We're tired of that, man. We're really tired of them.
Yeah. No, I think really well put. Well put. All right. Well, I think moving on here to our third topic today. So Trump's back on the menu, boys. I think about 48 hours ago, the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that states cannot just remove presidents unilaterally based off of at least the initial ruling of that court case for the 14th Amendment. So originally, Trump was taken off the ballot in the Colorado ballot by I think the Secretary of State.
He was never technically taken off because it was immediately appealed and put on hold pending appeal.
Okay.
So, and also, I don't think it was ever technically taken off.
But it was in line to be taken off.
Oh, yeah. They were ready to take him off.
They were ready to do that. And that has significant ramifications on how we conduct ourselves here as a country. Especially, so let's just say this happens. So Colorado takes off the Republican candidate on the ballot. What's going to stop them from any other kind of infraction any other politician
What's going to stop a Republican state from taking off Joe Biden?
And then that's the exact thing we're going to see. Basically, every state, every red state's going to take off a Democrat. Every blue state's going to take off a Republican. If you leave it up to the state, it's so that this is where usually I am a federalist in this nature, where the state gets to choose. It's the state's election. It's not a federal election. It's a state election, and then chooses who's going to govern federally. But in this case, it's that we have to be a bit more, I don't want to say fair, because I think that's probably the wrong term, but we got to be a bit more specific about why we're taking someone off, and we can't just unilaterally do it. So in the ruling, and that Supreme Court case ruling, the main opinion
Unanimous.
It was unanimous, but there was a couple dissenting opinions.
you're
I
right,
think
yeah.
I think it was Kavanaugh or Clarence Thomas. He's the black judge.
No, it was maybe it was Clarence.
I think it
Can't
was.
remember who.
Yeah, Clarence Thomas had where the 14th Amendment. Congress has to
pass something.
They have to pass something. They themselves have to remove President Trump or former President Trump from that ballot. It cannot just be the states doing, because this is a federal election. I agree with that. And if Congress wants to get off their butt and do it, that's fine. I don't think they're going to win that, but this just sets up as a pro win for Trump. Major. Like, he keeps winning these sort of small court cases. And I think this is just another feather in his cap where he's able to go on the campaign trail and say, hey, they're going against me. See, they keep failing. They keep trying to put me in jail. They keep trying to get me off the ballot. This is why you need to keep voting for me, because I'm going to remove these people from the office. And I think it's a strong pitch, regardless of how maybe we feel about his involvement with the January 6th riots, insurrection, just a casual visit at the old Capitol building. So I think this sets up like a major for Trump, and I don't think this is necessarily a loss for the Democrats, because you still need. There's a reason Joe Biden has raised more than any other Democratic candidate. It's because it's not for pro him, it's anti-Trump. So you got to give them the reason to come out. I think more Democrat voters are more willing to come out and vote against Trump than they are pro Joe Biden, or even just pro another candidate.
Many people are definitely pro. I think another candidate, like if there was someone who could bridge the gap, they'd win in a heartbeat. I think they would pull from both people. But I am not surprised by this at all. I was sending Alex stuff about this from the moment it was like in the news, because I'm like, this is dumb. Like, this is so dumb. I'm like, this is going to lose in a heartbeat. I knew it was, and it was unanimous. Like, when was the last time the Supreme Court 9-0 voted together on something? My God. Like, it was clear one state for a federal election should not have the power to like exclude someone. Like, because guess what? Like, one state in the grand scheme, like if it was just one state trying to do it in the grand scheme, yeah, maybe not a big deal. But guess what? If it comes down to one state now, like Nikki Haley is Trump's only opponent. So like, let's say it was really a close race. Like, what would they do then? Like, that would cause such a thing. And honestly, should one state like have the right to say, no, this guy can't appear on this ballot, he can't get any of our delegates, when it's a federal election, when 49 other states and then, our territories are all voting on this? Why do they get the power to say no? Yeah, and then like you mentioned too. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, well, especially on like a flimsy, I don't want to say the case they built was flimsy, but I think the actual idea and the lawful ruling that they were going for isn't necessarily flimsy. I think definitely his involvement with, the January 6th issues probably does call into question the 14th Amendment, which, if you don't remember, the 14th Amendment does say like any
prevents anyone who's enacted or who's taken part in like insurrection or sedition from federal office or holding office. I don't know if it even says federal, because it is
holding office. And I think the Trump case was, well, we didn't technically hold office. That was thrown out by the Supreme Court. It's like, yeah, you're the highest office. In fact, you are in fact holding it. And I think they were going off, well, I lost, so I wasn't necessarily going to be president at the time. It was
also like
thing.
He hasn't been charged with insurrection.
I think he has been charged. That case is still coming through.
It's still going through. So he hasn't technically been charged with insurrection, or sedition, which means he doesn't even meet the requirements of the 14th Amendment.
Yep.
And now, according to the Supreme Court, Congress would need to pass something. So,
yep. No, I think you're right here. We got a comment here from Ricky.
So I don't really have a lot to say on this.
Oh, you don't? Okay, all right.
But Democrats are horrible at messaging. Horrible at messaging. they don't know how to like point stuff out like Trump is doing and make it like, yo, this is it. They're just horrible at messaging. People are tired of Joe Biden and Trump. So I don't, and they're down to Nikki Haley and Trump on the Republican side. Trump is gonna win. It's just a sticky year, man. And we wish there was a third party. We need a third party or something where we don't have to have two people we don't want. Well, me personally don't want, and have to pick between the lesser two evils.
Yeah, no, I think it's very well put. It's just so I wish we would wish we'd have to do that. Every state would just be like, nah, I don't want Joe Biden. I don't want Trump. Give me something else.
Well, and that's, you mentioned that is like, what if they had ruled that you could do that? Then what's going to stop certain states from going? If it's up to the state, like Ohio is Republican controlled.
Yep.
What would stop them from making then Biden not able to appear on our ballot? Okay, yeah, maybe it goes to court, but guess what? It's Republican controlled Congress and Republican governor, Republican controlled Ohio Supreme Court, mostly Republican judges. Like Ohio is a red state.
Yep.
And so what would stop us then? Like if they had ruled that California has the power, then why can't we just go, all right, no Biden? Then we'd have, half the country saying, no, you're not on our ballot.
Yeah. So it's just going to reduce down to that sort of like the lowest common denominator in that scenario. So this is where I do agree where the federal government does need to come in and say, hey, we need to standardize the way we do this ballot process so that we have at least an equitable election, maybe not necessarily fair, but equitable, at least in that regard. Because this isn't sustainable. Like with anything in politics, if one side can do it, the other side is going to do it. That's why we're seeing so many different impeachments. Like Trump got impeached twice, Biden's going to be impeached. I think every president from here on out is going to be impeached for one thing or another. And it's just because
impeachments used to be rare.
Very rare.
And in our lifetime, I think we've seen more impeachments than were done in the rest of history before us.
Yep. So we had Clinton. We had, at least in our time, we had Clinton, Trump twice, then Biden.
And then Biden getting investigated. Was he technically impeached?
I don't think he was.
But that's three. And then before us was Nixon and
I don't think Nixon was officially ever impeached. He was going to be. It counts. He was going to be.
I think they voted to go to the impeachment trial, and then he decided. So he was resigned. I think technically. Yeah. And then maybe one president before that, if I can recall,
one or two before.
So it's like, dude, we've seen more in our lifetime than ever before.
Yeah. Ryan, we got any comments?
Where's Alex?
Yeah, I thought Alex had something to say about this one.
Nope. We are pretty quiet in the comment section.
Oh wow!
Come on, Alex.
You gotta do us better than that.
Doing us dirty.
Yeah. So we think so. Nikki Haley has said she's not standing down. She's remaining. Well, she did actually win a primary.
She said she was going to be in until Super Tuesday, which is today.
Oh, is Super Tuesday today?
Today is Super Tuesday.
Oh wow! I just I didn't really pay attention because it's going to be Trump. That's really Biden. There is I don't think the Democrats have I don't think they're holding primaries. At least probably not in Ohio.
No, they're doing primaries. You still got to technically vote for Joe Biden. I think
they're not. Are they hosting?
But he's got it.
Is that party hosting any other candidate?
No.
I think it's
so he's gonna get it, but I think technically, don't you still need to probably vote for him?
I think so.
But he doesn't get it by default. What if all 2 million Democratic voters in Ohio are actually probably not that high? Let's say all X number of Democratic voters in Ohio didn't bother filling out the circle for Biden because they figured he's all alone. Well, then he technically got no votes for the primary.
Yeah. But I think the parties, I think the parties do a little bit differently. So I remember
the parties,
back in
it's
like Democrats have like the super delegates. Basically
that's how Hillary Clinton stole the election from Bernie.
Well, so
she controlled the super delegates. Wasn't that how it went?
She had control of the super delegates, but what happened is Bernie was gaining steam up until about South Carolina. Because they were pretty neck and neck. I think I think Bernie won New Hampshire, and I think he won Iowa, and then Hillary won like the next two. So then what happened is then they started going with the super delegate nonsense. And the narrative just became, well, Hillary's winning. And then she just started going. And then,
Dude, these
Bernie-
primaries are crazy.
Bernie
Remember
found out.
when in history when the winner was the president and the loser was the vice president?
That's
That would be
way,
something. That'd be a good way
way
to-
long
Could you
ago.
imagine Biden and Trump as VP, or Trump as president and Biden as VP?
Well, we still haven't
Oh
got
my
we still
God.
haven't got who the vice president is for Trump. Who's his running mate? It's definitely not gonna be Pence. Pence already ran for.
Well, yeah, it's not Pence. It's gonna Gerget, I think, had mentioned he thinks it's gonna be that.
Tulsi Gabbard. I mean,
Was it Tulsi? I thought he was gonna be the VV Swami.
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
Vic Ramaswamy.
Ramaswamy.
yeah.
I haven't heard a whole lot of smoke about that. But then again, I haven't really heard smoke about pretty much
Well,
anybody.
technically, he doesn't have to declare his running mate until he wins the primary.
Yeah, I think he's gonna win the
They
primary.
win the primary.
Yeah,
And
you're
same
right.
with Biden. Biden could then decide to change, switch from Kamala, which I think would be a smart move.
I think it would be a smart move. But I don't think he'll do it. I don't
He
think he'll do it at
should.
all. And he came out and he said he wanted
We know Alex's opinion on Kamala.
a minority minority women vice president. He just came out and said that.
Yeah, he
Yes.
did that
And
then.
he
And
was-
guess what? He did it.
He did it.
Now he can move on and choose who he actually wants.
I don't know.
Because he dug himself into that hole doing
He-
that.
he
He
did.
dug that hole.
But if he moves off her, then that means he's wrong. And
no, if he moves
He
off
can't-
her, he's deciding to listen to the people and give them something they want.
oh no, that just means he's
Give
wrong.
us what we want. You serve us, Biden.
Yeah.
You serve me.
Oh, hey.
You got what do we got here?
Also, there's also RFK who's trying to get on the ballot.
Third
yeah.
party.
Yeah, he needs to have like 1 million signatures.
He ain't getting it.
I think he'll
It's
be
a
on.
lot.
I think he'll be on the ballot. I just don't think.
You
he's-
think for the actual election? You
Yeah, I
mean?
think so. As an independent
Eh.
candidate.
All he's
Now,
got going for him.
Will
is the
Will he
Kennedy.
be in any of the debates? Probably not. I don't think so. I don't think any. We're not going to see debates this year. We might see. We might see one.
Oh,
I
Trump
think
and
we'll see
Biden are
one.
not going to debate together.
We'll see.
Oh, hell no.
We're
Trump
gonna see.
hasn't debated once this year already for the primaries.
That's true. He said he didn't have to.
and
and
and you
Biden
think
didn't
he's
have
going to
to.
want to go up against Sleepy Joe? Nah.
It is his
It
kryptonite.
will turn into chaos just as it always has.
Yeah, you can't go in a mudslinging fight with someone who just
Falls
isn't
asleep.
conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he's unconscious, he's not hearing all the insults.
No, that's true. So my wrapping thoughts here on this is I think this is the correct decision by the Supreme Court. If you want to throw out Trump as a candidate, Congress needs to act on it. Whether I agree with it or not, whether I think it's the right thing to do or not, that's what we vote them in for. That's why they're there. They're the legislative body. And anymore, they're not really legislating. They're just figureheads for their party to have talking points and just sit there and they're basically just creating narratives. They're just influencers. Really, it's all they're doing. They're not actually doing anything. They're just influencing decisions. They're not writing their own bills. But this is the right decision because this, as you said, this is a slippery slope that is just going to be abused by every single state. And until we're just going to get derivative, there's going to be one state that's probably maybe a little bit 50-50, and then they're just going to duke it out. That could be Ohio. That could be.
Ohio is technically a swing state.
Yep, they're technically a swing state. Pennsylvania, it's going to be like 3 states that are not going to do that. And it's just the election's going to be decided by Ohio, Pennsylvania, and maybe Wisconsin. That's not really the country I want to live in. I'd like to live in every state.
You'd like to live in the country where it's basically, as of now, decided by California and New York then.
Well, it's not necessarily decided by California and New York. We have,
Well, if we got rid of the
Texas.
Electoral College, it would be.
Well, I'm not arguing for getting rid of the Electoral College.
That's a whole other
That's a
conversation.
whole other conversation. I think we're going to agree too much on this show for that. If there's someone out there in the comments that think we need to get rid of the Electoral College, I want to hear it. Send it out.
I
here.
agree.
I want to debate that person. I believe we need the Electoral College, and
I
it's
think most people who know what they're talking about probably aren't surprised by this Trump ruling and also understand the reason of why we have the Electoral College.
yeah. No, I probably agree with that. You got any wrapping thoughts?
Basically, I'm not shocked.
Yeah.
I think I said this at the beginning or I told
did.
you before the show. I'm not shocked because one state should not have the power to decide a federal position when the other 49 states also have a say. You're basically saying screw the 49 other states. I'm going to do what I want. Nah, that's not how it works. And I'm not shocked. What I am shocked about, though, is that it was 9-0. Like, was unanimous, like they all voted together, because that did surprise me. But I'm also not shocked that it went in Trump's favor. Like, one state cannot say no, you can't appear on our ballot, especially because you never know, that one state excluding someone could be the tiebreaker.
That's true.
And then that's a whole craziness that our country would then have to go through.
Yeah.
And that would be scary, probably. Civil war, who knows?
Yeah. Brian?
Yeah, I think civil war would definitely ensue. A presidential candidate being removed off of an option to even vote for.
Especially Trump, because he's got like his legion of followers,
Yeah. Ricky, what do you got?
Sorry about that. But shit, you made me lose my train of thought, but it's coming back. Bam. Here we go. So the Trump thing about Colorado, not verse or know much about it, but I have to say something to Doug. You're not the only diehard Democrat, bruv. My mom, I spoke to her last night, and she said something to me.
Democrat?
I don't know what you are, but you said Biden is for you. I don't know what you are, but
Did I say
like
Biden?
if he gets
he said Biden works for Doug.
works for you. No, you have these loyalists out here that don't care what their party's doing. Like my mom.
Oh, yeah.
She said she got her citizenship during Bill Clinton era, so she just a diehard Democrat. No matter what crap they're doing, what they're doing for her or whatever. So, there's people like that out there. And then Kamala Harris being black and being international, Jamaican and Indian. Like, Biden not gonna try to lose that support because he's too pussy. Democrat are too pussy. Democrat don't know messaging, and they're scared to say the stuff that people want to hear or need to hear, and attack it head front. They don't do that. They beat around the bush. I was about to say beat around the bush and be little sissies and stuff like that. So it's like I feel like the election is over. I feel like we already know who's winning. No one wants Joe. Even his own party is turning against him. Going sitting down with a black family having fried chicken. If it was Trump that did that, they would have called it racist. He did that. So it's like people, even like average black Americans, I hear they're tired of it. They're tired of just the pampering and inclusion instead of focusing what needs to be done. So it's going to be an interesting election, but we already know the result. It's only going to be interesting because of the deepfakes.
Ricky, you brought a good point, though, like talking there, like people, it is scary. People vote solely off of their party. They'll go and vote, and they'll vote for anything they see Democrat, or they'll vote anything they see Republican, not knowing what the person stands for, not knowing what the person believes in, or like not even knowing what anything. Like they'll just go, "Oh, this guy's a Republican. Well, I don't know what this judge is about, or I don't know what this state representative's about, this senator. I'm just voting for my party." That is scary that people do that. Like I tend to consider myself in the middle. I switch my primary ballots every year based on who I think I want to see. Like,
that's why you're the treasure of the show, Doug. That's why you're the treasure of the show, man. Like
that's why I'm first chair.
We're independents out here. You feel me? It's better to be independent minded out here. Vote for your interests. Don't vote for loyalty.
Yeah, don't vote based on a party, because the person you're voting for, he may be a Republican or he may be a Democrat, but he may not agree with what you want. Like he's part of that party, but he's voting differently than what you want. You got to be informed when you're voting. It's scary.
As Alex would say, do your political homework.
We do the big K knowledge here.
Do your research.
Yeah. All right. So our final topic for today, we got ourselves a spicy one here. So About 4 or 5 days ago, at about 3:21 a.m. in the morning, Mr. Beast sent out this tweet. It's a little sad that an active member of Congress can cause billions of dollars of stock shift like this. It is also not absurd that the people that make our laws and know classified information can trade on the public market. The fact that they get intel before the rest of America and are constantly tempted not to make millions off of it is just a situation we shouldn't be putting them in, and it seems stupid to me. I'd be all for paying them more and they not be able to invest or some other solution. Mr. B sends that out, and roughly about an hour or two later, deletes the tweet. Well, I think what Mr. B said is very not controversial at all. In fact, the only people who probably have any problems with him saying that are either part of the political elite class in which they benefit from this information, or they have an axe to grind here in Mr. Beast. So what I find a little weird here when Mr. Beast takes this down, because it's not controversial. I think this is probably one of the most both sides opinions you could possibly have outside of like puppies and kittens are cute, and football's fun to watch on TV. I think it's in fact it's less controversial than that. But the interesting thing about this is that Mr. Beast has a couple people here on his staff, and one of those people on his staff is Nancy Pelosi's nephew. So it probably doesn't surprise me that there is someone on someone on Nancy Pelosi's team probably got in his ear and say, "Hey, we probably need to let that go." Because I think Mr. Beast is a really likable person on YouTube, very popular person on YouTube, very influential person. He is an influencer after all. Took that down, and I find this wild. Mostly because this is just a non-controversial opinion. This is something I think we can all agree on. In fact, should be a law on it. But to take this stance and then to just throw it all away is, I think I'm a little disappointed. But this isn't the first time Mr. Beast has done this. He's had several different opinions criticizing several different folks about various topics, whether it be climate change, war, how Elon Musk can probably run his businesses a little bit better, and takes it down. To have that first step, to go past the veil of criticism, but then to come back on the other side because you don't want to face the consequences of that, just shows just a weakness to be able to go out there, especially on some of these topics that are just less controversial. He's not taking a side on Palestine. He's not taking a side on Israel. He's for the people, and a lot of, he's cured blindness on like 10,000 folks, given money away. He's created opportunities for more than just his outside self. So this is, I'm just disappointed I saw this, and I thought this was a really great topic on the show for a couple of different reasons. Congress people buying, selling stocks. I know we've broached on this a little bit here on the show, but I think with the new cast of characters we have here today, I'd like to get everyone else's opinions. So Doug, I'm going to open the floor here for you first. What are your thoughts?
So I can't say I know too much of the Mr. Beast thing specifically, other than I have seen it on the news, but congressmen get paid a fairly good amount of money. And they also, they're in, it's like 400,000 or no, it's like 200,000, isn't it?
No, the president of the United States makes about 440,000. And then we just kind of go down from there. Your average congressperson makes roughly $130,000 to $150,000.
Pretty good considering often are they actually passing anything? How often do you hear on the news, we have a deadline to pass whatever this is before they're going on their recess, on their break, on their holiday, whatever. My God, they're like fucking teachers. They get off so much time. And yet,
keep her going, Doug. Keep
allowed to use, like you said, their inside knowledge. Like, ooh, okay, we know the government's about to cancel a contract with this defense company. Let's quickly sell our stocks, Or, we know the government's about to throw a lot of money into Pfizer or Moderna. Let's buy some stocks. Like, they're using their knowledge to buy stocks. It can't be a coincidence that when you hear about like these elected officials doing stocks, they're usually making a lot of money off those stocks. Have you ever heard a news story of them going, Congressman so-and-so invested in this company and lost 100,000? Nah. What you usually hear, though, is them making a lot of money off of them.
Yeah. I see some comments flying here. We got any?
Yes. Mr. Gergat
said,
Gergat. Alexander is not really flying to Switzerland. He's in his bedroom, grounded for the week.
Interesting.
He had us all fooled.
He did.
Yeah.
They must have caught his porn in his closets.
You shouldn't say that when his dad's on.
Oh, yeah.
Ricky's got something to add.
Ricky.
So 150K, 100 to 100. I'm muted.
What are you, a boomer on Zoom?
Nah, I just gotta keep the noise out, man.
Oh, still muted.
Nothing, Ricky.
Nothing.
Nothing still.
Still nothing.
Still nothing. Wow. We'll
wait.
give him a second here to figure this one out. But I think so. So Doug, here's probably one thing to keep in mind. I'm not exactly offended that our congresspeople make $200,000 a year. That doesn't really bother me too terribly much. I think some of the issues come down. I don't think you want someone corruptible in that office. I think if you have, because I hate to go back to the founding fathers, but the way they wanted Congress and the Senate to be with these channels of government, they wanted someone like a little more affluent in society. They don't necessarily want the lowest rung of society making rules for everyone else, because you could just see the opportunities. If let's say you're making minimum wage and you're able to garner enough votes in a very specific district to win, and now you're in a position of power and authority, it doesn't take a whole lot of imagination for someone like Walmart or Pfizer, Moderna, whoever, Lockheed Martin, to go and say, hey, I'll pay like 20 grand. You vote for my bill. We'll work it out on the back end. You get a job or something.
It's called a lobbyist, man.
Yeah. Well, but for someone who's poor and of lesser means, that goes a lot further than someone who's a little bit richer. Like I don't know, like John Kerry, married a very rich person, isn't swayed that much by money in politics to an extent. They are. There absolutely is corruptible politicians in this area, but they're not swayed that much. You really gotta hit the mountain peak for them to be able to listen. And a lot of these companies, it's just too expensive to do it that way. I know lobbyists get a bad rap on a lot of these things, but I think they're also good to an extent. They know a little bit more about some of the industries in which Congress, because I think it's impossible for any congressperson to be an expert on everything. We want them to be competent in all subject matter and all aspects of what they're governing. But I think it's unrealistic for them to be a coding expert or an AI expert or a foreign intelligence expert. So that's where these lobbyists do come in and help add a little texture to whatever laws they're writing, promoting. Now, it unfortunately just goes in the way against the American people, but not, and very rarely does it actually help us. But I do believe there is a place for lobbyists inside the United States to actually help guide our politicians, because they can't always just listen to us. I think it's just unrealistic to expect that. You agree or do you disagree? What do you think?
Well, personally, if they want to sell stocks, then they should give up part of their salary. What they put in to buy the stocks, they should give up in their salary for the year. Like if they put $50,000 into Pfizer because they know it's going to make them a lot of money, they should give up $50,000 of their salary then for every year they're in Congress. Every dollar they invest, they should lose then from the public funding, because they're making money. Yeah. You don't hear about these congressmen losing any money. And then I have a hot take though.
Okay.
These congressmen should be paid hourly. All right. Let's actually make them work for their money.
All right.
How many bills have you passed for me in the last year? How many hours did you actually spend in DC working on the floor trying to pass something or in deliberation? You know what? If we did that, I bet we see them working a lot harder and passing more bills, because right now I feel like you hear them just, Congress is at debt still. They're not voting on anything. Oh, and they're about to go on holiday. So that's all you hear on the news when it talk about Congress is like they're about to go on recess and they haven't done anything. Maybe it's time we make sure they're actually working for that pay.
Well, I think part of that issue too is that filibuster issue that they constantly keep running into.
Filibuster is great though.
Well,
Gives the minority a chance to pause, to stop something.
My issue with the way Congress is currently using the filibuster, they're not using it. They're just
Filibuster is Senate specific.
I want them to actually go filibuster. If you're going to threaten filibuster, do it. Stand up there for 20 hours and pause this bill. Because
stand on business.
Up there until the session finishes.
They don't have to be up there.
Well, because you have a set time for each session usually.
They don't. If they're threatening filibuster, they're just gonna. Everyone has a handshake agreement, which is also tells you why they're really not for the people, and they're just not. It's a big party, and we're not.
When has
in it.
Congress ever been about the people?
You know, I question the same thing. I'd argue. There was a time. Actually, fairly recently, when they sent out the checks, the stimulus checks.
Yeah, it was the first time I was happy to get something from the government.
I honestly believe that first stimulus check was an act of Congress trying to do something. It's like, hey, well, and it wasn't also just the stimulus check. It was also the and when you got laid off, that extra
unemployment.
Yeah, that extra unemployment that kicked in. I think that. I'm surprised we don't talk about that as much as we do, especially on the inflation segment.
You don't think giving out millions of free dollars to the people hurt inflation?
It did hurt. Well, it helped inflation.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't think it hurt us by giving out all that free money to the people when most of the people like they gave it to weren't also ones working anyways? They gave it to everyone.
Yep. And that.
They gave it to Jill and Joe, regardless if they're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week or if they're getting welfare checks. Everybody got a check.
Everyone.
Silence, though.
Well, unless you made too much, then you didn't get it.
Well, that's fair.
I think if you're over 120,000, I think they didn't give you.
At that point, you're probably going to be able to weather the pandemic.
Yeah. So, Ricky, we get your mic figured out?
No, man. I don't know what's going on.
They didn't get it figured out. All right. Well, we'll keep her rolling here. But I think what?
Can I go like this?
There we are.
I just used the phone.
Okay.
So people,
so
yes, could probably hear him, right?
Yeah. Mr.Beast.
Oops.
Disappointed. I'm very disappointed in Mr.Beast, man, because he influenced young people to open their mind, just to kindness and to just whatever. His platform is so huge. I don't see why he should have deleted that, because everything on the internet lasts forever. It doesn't make sense. Someone's going to screenshot it, repost it. What's the point? People need to stop deleting tweets and stuff and act like it disappears. It doesn't. So stand on business or get out the way. Also, I want to say Congress if they make over 100K, they're in the top 15 percentile of people earnings. If they make over 150K, they're in 8.3 percentile. You know what I'm saying? So you're making good money than the average person you're representing. You're supposed to be for the people, not more than the people. You know what I mean? So we didn't put you in there to get rich. If that's what it is, we need to start telling our kids and putting them on podiums and set them up instead of putting them on the field and run like athletes, putting them on podiums and let them practice for Congress nowadays, because it's just going to grow. And if you have the insight of what's going on behind the scenes, why not go that route? And you make better connections to be safer if there's an apocalypse or something. Just saying.
Dude, so, Ricky, what if our elected officials' salaries were based on the average of their constituents then? Because you brought up a good point. They're making more money than probably the people they're representing. What if it was based on an average of their their district.
I like when you said hourly. You clock in, you clock out. Okay.
I like that too.
So if you don't make enough, we give you a bonus for your to make up your wage. Then we
Oh,
know
no,
it's
they don't
public
even get
form.
that.
We'll know it's on public form what you did this year. How much hours did you put in really for the people?
Yeah,
How
it's
much
gotta be
hours did you
transparent.
do filibuster 20 hours trying to stop something? We need to know these stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it should be a law. America's passed so many laws throughout history. Why is there not a law where you cannot be on the stock market? You should not, your family should not be on the athletes can't gamble. And you're telling me the people that's running the country can't be gambling on the stock market?
You know
And be
why,
playing,
Ricky?
like, it doesn't make sense.
You know why? Because you know who makes laws that affect Congress and the Senate? It's them. They would have to
Exactly.
pass a law saying they can't do that. And
The
you think they're
people
going to
has
do
to
that?
make a stand. The
They're
people
not
has
going
to
to pass
stand.
a law.
We have to stand on business as well. Some way, somehow, the people have to find a way to stand on business. If it's nobody showing up to the poll, nobody's showing up to there has to be something united that makes this all switch. Because every week we come, we're still pointing the finger at these same people. Like it's the same system and we're just speaking it from different aspects each week. And it's just, for me, it's just all corruption at the end of the day. It just all seems fishy to me. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
Almost everything that comes out of the Congress or out of the DC, let's say DC, is controversy. It's nothing just straight for the people, and just you can no sneaky attack in this bill or nothing like that. It's just getting too confusing nowadays.
No, I agree. And we're lucky we even get to know that Congress buys and sells stock. It was a law that they enacted.
They have to report it.
They have to report it 30 days after it happens. And that's why we get these,
the monthly reports.
Yeah, the monthly reports. We get these Twitter accounts that track. You can even, there's probably some programs out there. You can basically just set up your 401k, your savings to do whatever Nancy Pelosi does or any other congressperson. It's not just
because
hers.
that would be awesome.
Yeah, you can do that. Now you're probably not going to make as much as they
no,
are.
because they did it 30 days ahead of you when they knew.
But there's definitely like I hate to keep using Nancy Pelosi. She's not the only one that does this, but she's definitely
she's the current one in the news.
You know, she's the most influential of Congress that is currently doing it. She bought an NVIDIA way long ago, back when I bet there's probably a lot of talks about AI. There's a lot of information she had access to that an average person did not. If we all remember as well, she went to Taiwan to go probably speak with some people who are probably
some
in the
of those
know.
tech companies over there.
And as we see, NVIDIA is the most valuable company in the world right now. It's either them or Apple, one of the two, but they are one of the most valuable companies in the world.
Yeah, because Taiwan's a
Skyrocketed.
huge chip manufacturing hub.
Yep. Yeah,
We got a couple comments.
Oh,
Let's hear
all
it.
right. Let's hear it.
I see some Alex Gergat. Right?
No, that was from before. William Scatner said that stimmy money went into buying more Louis Vuitton bags than it did groceries.
Here's a hot take.
I definitely think people took that money and used it on stuff because they were still getting paid for a lot of the people they gave it to were still getting paid for their job.
I think some people, I think the ones who really focus
pocketed
on, I think the ones we really focus on did I don't want to say nefarious things. That was the whole point of the money. Give it and do whatever you want with it. There was no strings attached to this. So I don't blame anybody who got an extra, couple grand here and decided, well, I want a Louis Vuitton purse. Those are nice. Also, I think Louis Vuitton's a little more that you're not buying a whole lot of Louis Vuitton for about $1,000, maybe a used one, but definitely not a new one. Those are a little bit more expensive than
I wouldn't even know.
G. Yeah, it's a wide world going down into luxury goods. But I think it was if I'm going to put myself in Congress's shoes, because remember they shut down businesses. They decide, hey, you're not essential. You're essential. Or you're not essential. They made that call. So I don't disagree with the decision on the back end. It's like, hey, we need to make sure people aren't just going poor, or we don't have enough services to be able to help someone in this specific scenario. So let's give them cash. And at the end of the day, what to do better than the government, or anyone else. If you want to spend that on fireworks, if you want to spend it on firearms, if you want to invest in the stock market, or if you want to pay down some debt, that's up to your discretion. And I don't think it's of anyone. I don't necessarily think it's of anyone's business. It doesn't matter. Now, the ramifications and the consequences that happen because of this, I don't think are all that positive. We see in hyperinflation, not necessarily hyper, but we see a lot of inflation coming through. We just saw
The cost of everything is higher than it was.
Yep, we saw businesses take advantage of the fact that everyone's now got an extra $1,000 in their bank account, and they're going to spend it, and they don't care what things cost because it's funny money. So that's I think a lot of our inflation woes came just straight from that, not necessarily the injection of money in the economy. It had an effect, but I don't think that was the biggest driver. I prescribe to the theory of greedflation, where companies we just can't stop spending money, and they're just taking advantage of that. It's
Or
like,
shrinkflation, where like they're
Yeah.
going to charge you the same price for what you know and love and have bought for years. Just make it smaller, or you get less.
but they've been doing that for a while.
Oh, for a
That
long
hasn't
time. But
been-
it's like more people have like more things have done that recently, though. Like
Yeah.
a lot of things have done it for years, but a lot of the big Lay's chips. I feel like you buy the same bag of Lay's chips now, you're getting more air than chip in it than you used to.
like family
That's just me.
size is what the usual chip bag used to be. And they're taking advantage of this. And also, let's not forget we have a consolidation, corporate consolidation coming to that as well. I think they're starting to realize they have a lot more power in the marketplace than they necessarily thought they did, or what they did back then. And they're wielding that power, and they're influencing it over us. So wrapping this back in here with the stocks aspect of it, I think we need to keep hounding this horn, and we got a lot of traction when CNN, we had a reporter CNN, they were talking to Nancy Pelosi, and they asked the question like, hey, do you think Congress people should be able to participate in the stock market? And she just went out and said yes. The cojones to come out knowing this is an unpopular position and to just flat out tell everyone.
Because she's like entrenched, man. Like when you're in long enough, like
Yeah.
her, you're just entrenched. You're not getting voted out by your constituents.
And you're not, and no one's going to be challenging her because the party doesn't want.
We need term limits on every public office, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree. Oh, absolutely.
Let's get some turnover in this bitch.
Yeah, it should be like
Out with
3
the old,
terms,
in with
and
the
that's
new.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
three terms, and then you got to wait another 3 terms. And if you want to run again, you can. Like maybe even something like that.
Oh, I haven't.
You know,
I
like you
haven't
got to
heard
have
this.
some time out of the spotlight before you can come back.
Interesting. No,
I
actually
think
kinda like
people
that.
can get around. Like, I think people would be for that more than just straight up saying you have 3 terms, you're done. No, like with 3 terms, like what if you get elected young, you do your 3 terms, you wait, and then you want to come back when you're older with more experience. You know,
Yeah. No, I
I think
I
that's
like that.
something.
I think you got something there. You should probably write to a congressperson. That might be.
Oh,
Check.
right to the people that make their own laws. Yeah, you know,
yeah.
when you got to rely on Congress to create something that's gonna like be involved with Congress, you're just holding your breath.
Oof.
Oh, Congress, I think you should pass a law saying you should get paid less. Nah, they ain't gonna pass that law.
No, they're not going to pass that law. They also haven't passed a law to raise their salary in a while.
Well,
It's
because
been
I don't
about a
think they
decade.
can.
They can.
They can, but they passed something years ago that like
They got to wait to
requires-
another term.
Is
They
that
gotta-
what it
They got to
is?
come back for another term.
They at least
for
were
it.
smart enough to pass that. But
Yeah.
you know what? They realized it was just like a drop in the bucket to them. It's like, all right, we appeased the majority.
Yeah.
I got you guys.
Yeah. You got
Can
to.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh wow, mic is working again.
Good. Yeah.
It's when us as average folks can sit here and speak like for length and hours how corrupt, like just how
Oh,
it
it's
doesn't
sad.
make sense. You know what I mean? How more people don't put these stuff together, put everything together and be like, yo, we can't keep being loyal to one party. We can't keep doing this. And I don't know. I guess the rethink tank is the reach that people need to get out there for the change of mindset. but it needs to be a revolution, man. Fuck it. You just have a revolution in America and rebuild this off ashes. Don't shoot me.
Let them eat cake. No, yeah. Yeah, so my wrapping thoughts here.
Do have one more comment.
We got one more. Well, you know what? Let's let the comment fly. What do we have to say here?
DC says Mr. Beast is worth 500 mil. You'd think he'd have some fuck you money. Beep. Laying around.
I agree. Absolutely.
Exactly.
You know, maybe he's, you know, what the unfortunate part, he's probably pissed because he bet on a stock that lost because a congressperson. Because let's go back to the tweet. Let's go back. What exactly did he say? It's a little sad that an active member of Congress can cause billions of dollars of stock to shift like this. That's interesting. That tells me Homeboy lost some money on something a congressperson probably threw out there. Then he goes on his rant about it. So I think I might be changing my tone a little bit on this. So
I still don't think they should be stock marking. They absolutely have inside knowledge. And so if inside trading is against the law, then it should be against the law for the people with inside knowledge to trade.
You know what? I agree. And no one is anyone actually going to disagree with that outside of Congress people?
So then why don't we get that law then?
Yeah.
If the majority of people
how many
say
people
that, then let's
are going to
start
make
pushing
noise
for a constitutional amendment by the people?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Exactly, Doug. How many people are going to make the noise for the issue? And they're simple. They're simple that can make things more transparent, and we feel more comfortable with our elected officials. So how many people are really going to try to make the stand? And how do we make the stand? By voting, by not voting, by what can we do? Pick someone out of our group and be like, you go run, and we trust in you. But after a while, it's the same process. They will get delayed, and the same politician voice notes.
I think you got to make your politicians uncomfortable. You have to be upfront and in their face about it. Why are you voting on, or why are you buying stocks on companies you know what's going on? You got to get in front of them about it. And these politicians want to hide away. They don't want to talk to the constituents. That's going to be one of the few things we can actually do. Like you and me, we can go up. We can go talk to Chantel Brown over in Cleveland. Say, hey, why'd you buy this? You're on this committee. Isn't that a conflict of interest? You have to be upfront with them about it. You can't be afraid because they serve us. Just Doug, President Biden serves you, but you know who else also serves us?
Yeah,
Congress.
President Biden serves me, but if I send him an email saying "fuck you, you piece of shit, you suck," I'm gonna have the Secret Service knocking down my
You're
door.
going to jail.
You probably need to say,
thank you.
You need to say a bit more.
Like, God forbid I be able to voice my opinion to the guy who's in charge of my whole goddamn life.
Can't fly anywhere no more.
Yeah.
Doug's gonna be the new Karen.
I would gladly be known as Karen if I got to walk up to Joe Biden's face and give him my
Give him the biz.
I would love it. I wouldn't care. You can call me Karen the rest of my life. I at least got to walk up to Sleepy Joe and make sure he's awake.
All right, so wrapping thoughts here. Mr. Beast, grow a backbone. Stand behind your word. Don't delete the tweet, even if it is uncomfortable for you. Because you know who it's really uncomfortable for? The person you're tweeting at. And I think we can all agree on here, and I think, Mr. Beast, you can probably agree as well, that sort of change is much more effective coming from you than it would be from us tweeting. You are speaking for the people. You have you have a voice that is heard more so than anyone else. You wield that voice with power. Don't hide behind the shadows. Don't get uncomfortable, because we need to make the people in power uncomfortable. That's my wrapping thought. Doug?
I actually have to agree. I don't think he should have deleted it because I think it's a fair point, and I think a lot of people probably agree with him. And he has the reach to have gotten that out there and maybe even made people who weren't aware that these congressmen are making money off of their inside knowledge. Clearly, like they are. Also, though, like I think he probably got paid off because guess what? Pelosi probably made a shit ton of money off of that trade, and she probably just sent a little hush money his way. I think that's why he deleted it.
It's possible.
I think everyone has a price.
Everyone does.
Although
have a
he's got
price.
such a following, but she also probably has so much money being from California too, cost of living. I bet she made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
That might be right.
She went the Godfather on him.
Brian?
Yeah, I think because he has such an influential foot in the water with the children, and she knows that her other constituents and stuff want to keep running and keep trading their stocks and everything else that they do that is not exactly in the favor of the people. They don't really want to shine a light on that. And however much money that takes to pay someone who is so influential, I think that was done the instant that tweet was sent out. And it just took a long time, an hour or whatever it was out there,
Couple hours.
for him to be like, you know what? I'll actually take that. Thank you.
Yeah. Ricky, we're going to let you close out the show.
My rapping thoughts is Mr.Beast, stand on business, bruv. Come on, man. We love you. You do generous stuff. You give us great shows. I'm in your comments, bruv. Come on, stand on business. I don't think he got paid out. I think it's a favor for later down the road. And I hope that favor is worth it for a tweet. I don't know how much that favor is worth for a tweet, bruv, but I hope it's worth it. And you could have drove more to you by that one tweet from different sides, and you to maybe even from 500 to a billionaire. You know, like little stuff like that. When you show you're for the people and you stand on your integrity, can goes a long way. Especially when you're so I'm Jamaican. You get the word. And for the the politicians, man, come on. Something has to change, and it has to change soon, because it's just going to get worse. Because as y'all said earlier, we've seen so much impeachment, so much stuff going off in our lifetime. It's just going to get worse. I don't think there's no better. It's only going to get worse.
I think you made a great point there. Trading favors too. That's another political issue.
No, absolutely. Well, folks, as Gurgat likes to say, if we made you laugh, if we made you cry, but more importantly, if we made you think, please support the show. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. We're everywhere. We're even on Rumble. We even have a spot here on Rumble. Also, I think Gurgat would probably gut me like a fish if I didn't mention this either. Go check out the Rethink Actions, the Sunday show every Sunday. What time? 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. every morning, live.
Every Sunday.
We did say that there was no show this week.
There was no show this week.
There is no show this week. So
there is
stay tuned.
So don't watch it. Yeah, so you won't have to. But for that time you would have spent watching at 9 a.m. here, take a look at here. So here's where I'm at. I think that's some of the best stuff we make here. Well, or really Gurgat makes it, but the new Shane, Shane Gillis episode, I may not agree with everything he says on there, but boy, I think it's very well put together. Absolutely. Some great content to be watching here. So folks, we're going to see you next week at 7 p.m. on Tuesday. We're going to be here live. We're going to get Gurgat back. Doug, you're probably going to be over in the peanut gallery, and we're going to have another great show here for you. So with all else said, you guys have a good one.